Hello and welcome to a discussion of simulating repair welds with QustomWeld. For those of you who are not familiar, QustomWeld is a plugin that's built in for Abaqus CAE. It uses all the latest technology that's been developed for AM and applies that to simulating welds. So today's topic is simulating repair welds, right? And repair welds are essentially what can be thought of as two different types of operations. One is, let's say you're putting down a bunch of weld beads and the exterior gets kind of rough and difficult to put more beads down. Then sometimes they'll machine part of it down and then start adding more welds on top of that, or weld beads on top of that. So that's one case that we refer to as repair welds. The other case is, let's say you have some corrosion on the exterior of a weld and you want to go in and machine that off and then add new material to replace it. So both of these can be considered repair welds. And the way these are performed in QustomWeld is we break it up into two different steps. So the first step is we build the original weld. We do that full simulation. And at the end of it, we machine that region off, like what we see colored in red here. Now in this example, this is what I'm going to use for our discussion for repair welds. Again, this very, very coarse model. It's really just to test the procedures. So in order to define this machined region in QustomWeld, in the very end here, and we'll see where this is at QustomWeld, we have a list of our steps and how the robots are putting down their various welds. And then we're just going to add an extra user-defined step and then select this to assign the machined region. And all this really does is it just, at the very end of the analysis, it has a separate step with a model change to remove those elements. All right, so that's the first step. The second step is creating a second model. And the base material, which we see here in tan, is the material at the end of the first model. So you'll notice these two welds have now become base material. And that's how we would set up the model in QustomWeld. So we have a different base material, and then we have new weld material on top of that. All right, so when we're creating this second model, the very first item here when we generate the model is we have this option to initialize stress solution from previous analysis. And all this really does is it uses the star map solution option to read the stresses from the first model. All right, so let's see what this actually looks like in QustomWeld. All right, so here we've defined two models. So the first model here is our original model. Here's our two beads. So you'll notice this is model 4212. This is just an example problem. It's got the two color-coded beads for the left and the right here. And then if we look, let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry, we're looking at the wrong one here. Let me go to this one. So if we look at this robot summary, so this is defining a welding scenario, and we've got all the steps defined, and what we've done is we've just hit this button here to add an extra step to define the machine region. So that's all that's really done in this analysis. So the analysis runs and removes that material at the end. And then if we look at our new material, our new model, since now we've got the new base material. Let's open this up. So here's our bead 1, our bead 2, our new beads. But our base material is this one in tan. All right, and if you'll see, here's where we've set initialize the stress solution. All right, and then these beads just get laid down. So let's see what this actually looks like as far as the analysis. All right, so okay, so we'll look at the first analysis. Okay, now I don't have many stress results saved, so I can't really do an animation. So we're just going to look at the very last step. Uh, and so we see a stress field. Again, this is kind of a dummy model, so this entire area is just fixed. Not very realistic, but that's okay. So we see some stress field at the end, and this is after the part has been machined. And if we look at the results here, so here's the stress field before the machining. All right, and then here's the stress field after. So it changes a little bit, not much, but a little bit. All right, so this is what we're going to import into our next model. So our next model, let's look at the very first increment, or zero increment, I should say. And you'll see it's got the stress field from the first model initializing the stresses of this model. So you'll notice that it starts out with those original welds as base material, and then it adds the new welds in the whole new welding simulation process. All right, so the application of repair welds is pretty straightforward in QustomWeld. It just uses some existing capabilities in Abaqus and just tags along with those. So anyways, I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions regarding QustomWeld, you can go to the QustomApps.com and get lots of information there. And you can email me anytime at info@QustomApps.com. All right, thanks.